Behind the Scenes. I am your host, Hector Montalvo. Joining us here today at our MCTV studios, candidate for school committee member, Miss Jerry-Ann Patel.
Yes.
Hi, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us, who is Jerry-Ann Patel?
A parent with 3 kids in the school system.
Parent with how many children?
3.
3 children
3, yeah.
in the school system for the city of Methuen. What made you decide to run for school committee?
Well, I don't like the curriculum, so I see a lot of homework coming home. I see not so much a lot of homework, what's coming home, and I'm not really impressed. I don't think we're getting a basic education anymore. You know, they're focusing more on the MCAST, and when my first grader comes home with fractions and geometry, you know, we need to go back to a basic education, and that's something we lost.
And it's the parents who get stuck.
Well, yeah, it's like almost you have to go back to school to try to teach your kids how to do their homework. I can't, you know, I have a 6th grader and I'm looking at his homework and I'm like, I can't do that. It's crazy.
What are some of the changes you seek to make if you're elected?
I want to go after the curriculum. That I feel very strong on. I think we need spelling back, and I'm huge on that. They say that there's some form of spelling, but we need spelling tests. You know, I mean, the English language is a very hard language. There's so many things that, you know, are the same but mean different, you know, so I really would like to hit the curriculum, and that's really my big issue. You know, it's a basic education, like when we were in school. I mean, they call it a revolving curriculum, so they'll introduce it, and then they'll introduce something else, and so then the next year will come, and they'll hope that they get it. You know, they need to stick with something until the children learn it, and that's not happening. You know, it's not happening at all.
Why do you think it's not happening? Why do you think it's...
I don't know. I have addressed the person that handles the curriculum. I also talked to a woman in Boston, and I told her that we were not having spelling in school, like as far as part of the curriculum, okay? And she informed me that that was a big part, that, see, what I was told, say, last year when Gene Whitten was in, you know, it was part of memorization, spelling, and I felt as though that's not true. You know, then why do times tables? That's memorizing. You know, if you do spelling, they can put it in a sentence, they can look up the definition, and they can study it, so now they know how to work the whole meaning of the word. That, we don't have that at all. And so I called Boston, and because I was told that there's mandates, you know, and Boston told me, no, we're at local control. So we have some room to do what we need to do. It's just that running against a brick wall with an individual, and I've talked to a lot of teachers, and they feel the same way.
Are you seeing like any books come home with the children in regards to what is being learned in the actual school?
My son brings home some books. The other ones are kind of younger, so they bring home more like a packet and stuff. But I see the main focus is MCAST, and I have a real big problem when they put children in categories like subgroups. You know, I don't like that. Now
you've seen the Charter Commission, the city councilors. These are all elected officials, and school committee members would be elected officials as well.
Right.
We see that it's hard to work with a group of people. How would you bring change and work on the issues that you want to bring, and working with those individuals? How would you do that? You know, I guess it'd probably be a learning process, you know, a lot of praying, because I'm only one person. I can't change the world. My views might be different from the rest. That's why I'm trying to get out there now that there's going to be 3 empty seats. And a lot of people are intimidated to run against people that have been in office for 20, 30 years. And they don't need to be intimidated. You know, you got to just go for it. That's the way I look. That's why I ran last time. You know, you just got to get your name out there and do it. But we have almost 3 empty seats for the school committee. And in my opinion, I think if we had a parent from each school on that school board with children in the school, it would be huge. Are there members now that don't have children that attend to those schools? No. Really? No. So that's something that you would like? I think I know more, you know, what's going on in the school system, only as far as not the financial part, but what's going on in the schools. Mostly, of course, the school that my kids are in, but when you have kids in the school, you're seeing what's coming home. You don't have any children in the school, you're not really seeing what's going on in school. I know more than they do. What about some of the other changes that you might be interested in working with the other members who are appointed or elected?
Bullying, I think we should have hall monitors, not children, because the children, of course, would end up being bullied not to say anything. I think that, once the classes break, people need to be visible, whether it be a parent volunteer or teachers that are on break. That's huge. They need to see what's going on, because there's a lot of things that are going on, and unfortunately, if the teacher, they don't see it, then it didn't happen.
What would you like to see change as far as bullying? I mean, I know that there is a big concern in regards to the social network outlets that are out there, school buses, incidents with cameras and so on. What would you like to see change where the children feel safe to be able to come in and go to school and learn?
Well, they need to handle it immediately. I mean, not a week later, or, yep, we'll get to you, yep, we'll bring the parent in, yes, we'll do that. No, you need to take care of it right then and there. Okay, not, let's give it, you're going to get a warning. I don't think you can give them 1, 2, 3 warnings. I think you're going to know the individual, whether they're going to do it or not. So you need to nip it in the bud right away. How would
you do that and protecting someone from maybe being falsely accused of even being a bullier? Of picking on someone else? How would you balance the two?
I think it would depend on where it was happening, whether it was on the school bus, whether they were being texted. I think it depends on what actually, were they physically attacked? So I don't know how they would approach something like that as far as once they're off the school grounds where they're getting bullied, whether it's on Facebook. I think the parents need to be aware of what's happening with their kids. I mean, I'm a helicopter parent, but their parents right now, I mean, it's hard. You're trying to put food on the table. You can only do so much. And unless your child's coming home telling you what's happening, you're not going to know, or if the school's calling you. But as far as the school bus, I think the school buses are overcrowded. I mean, the children are practically falling off the seats. You got the coats and the band stuff, and I'd like to see seatbelts on the bus from one side to the other. So I mean, you figure you go in a car, you get a seatbelt on. There's no safety on a bus. The bus driver has a seatbelt, but the kids don't. So what's wrong with that picture?
What about bus monitors? I know that when we were growing up, I used to see bus monitors on the bus, and this is something that you don't really see anymore.
No, you don't, but again, you're between, I think, a rock and a hard place, because if the bus monitors then were children, just like when I was a walker at school, we used to have like the crossing, big and cool because you were the leader of the pack, but nowadays we're in a totally different generation. So if you have a child being the monitor, then you're still, again, you're putting into a position of, if you say something that I did something on the bus, I'm going to get you in school. It's really kind of a tough situation, and I think it all depends on what it is, but it has to be handled immediately.
Would you recruit other parents from different schools, and how would you get them involved into the process of even becoming a candidate for school committee?
Well, I talk to everybody. When I'm out there, I tell everybody, it's two nights a month. That's it. It's not a huge impact on your life, and it's all in really the safety of your children and the education for your kids, and that has to be first and foremost. And an education, I don't think we're getting. I'm going to be honest, and that's being honest. I don't think we're getting it right now. I think that the kids are being rushed, the teachers are being pushed to teach the MCAS, and then when they don't pass it, then we're in a subgroup, don't you know? This one doesn't make enough money, this one is a single parent, this one lives with the No, I'm sorry. I have no room in my life for subgroups. Every child is an individual. They're all going to learn at their own pace. You can have $1 million in the bank, you can have $1 in the bank. To me, it doesn't make a difference.
So should it be an educational process for the teachers involved as well, or how we're going to make this?
I don't know. I mean, Hector, I have no idea. I mean, I go out there and I talk to parents and I tell them, what is your children bringing home? How do you feel? Do you feel that your child's getting the education? And there are some people that just don't want to put themselves out there. So, I mean, I'm, pretty upfront, but not everybody is, so I talk to a lot of people and I try to help them out the best I can. So if they come to me, then I address it the best way that I can do.
What are some of the other concerns that parents that you've spoken with have with the entire school system in general?
A lot is the curriculum.
A lot of them is.
Yeah, the curriculum and bullying and special ed department is really huge. My heart goes out to the special ed department. I I never think we can do enough for anyone that needs some extra help. We have Title I, excuse me, and not in the Marsh. We have some reading programs in the Marsh, but the other schools have the Title I, and it stops, I think, Hector, at 3rd grade. I'm not sure, but in my opinion, if a child's in 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th, 11th grade, if you need the reading, it should be there. We're a public school. We get, I think I just found out it's $11,600 per student. So I think, we need to have more for the children.
Would you, if you were elected, how would you fight to prevent the schools from medicating the children or requesting?
I don't believe in medication. No, I don't believe in it. No, not at all. I think you need to have the right person to deal with the situation, and I've come across people that have no clue what they're doing, and they say they do. And I was probably about maybe 5 years. I worked for Fidelity House, which was a group home in Andover with adults that were mentally handicapped, and I loved it. So my heart goes out to them, and I have a problem when somebody has no clue how to handle them, and gets frustrated, or, I don't think we can do enough.
Yeah, we see a lot of calls coming in from parents, from the schools, suggestion to go see or take their children to see a doctor or something to get them medication. Should teachers be required to take a special training to handle special education children such as ADHD and so on? Should that be something?
I think they should. I think they should, just so they know what they're up against, because I know people that have ADHD, and if you're someone that's going to be yelling up in their face, then you're showing that child no self-control, and what you need to teach that child is self-control. So I think, I'm not saying that you can't be frustrated. I mean, teachers, I give them a lot of credit. That's hard. I'm not saying it's easy. It's hard. You have 28 kids. I mean, I would love to see 15, 18 kids in a classroom, not 25 and 28 with one teacher. I mean, we did, there was a lot of cutbacks that I'm not happy with the program assistants in the kindergarten. They're babies, Hector. They're 5 years old, and one teacher to 28 kids. When they're just leaving their mother and their father, you need someone else to pick up the piece. If there's a little girl crying or a little boy crying, the teacher can't be everywhere. So we did a lot of cutbacks that I'd like to see change, and I'd like to see program assistants in each class in the kindergarten. I would like to see not 25 kids in a classroom, and if there's a child and a parent saying, I think my child has some issues with reading, or whatever the case may be, that child should get the help they need, and not fall on one person to turn around and say, well, you know what, I don't really care what the doctor says, I know better, they don't need the help. That's what's happening in our school, and I've had enough with that now.
How long do you think it would take for you to be successful to bring complete change that will make you...
I don't know, Hector. I don't know. Like I said, it's a lot of praying, and I have a lot of faith, and I'm only one person. My heart's in the right place, and my heart's for the kids. I don't want to see an administrator intimidating a child, just like I wouldn't want to see a child being intimidated by another child, or as far as the education. It's huge. It's all around, but I don't think I can change it in a year. It all depends. Like I said, if I can get a few more parents to run for school committee that have children in the school, I think we might see it change, but we need that. We have a panel of people, and I'm not saying they're bad school committee members at all, but there's no kids in their school. You're not seeing what I'm seeing coming home. You're not seeing that my first grade is coming home with fractions and geometry, and my third grade is coming home. She'll learn one thing, and then just when she gets it, boom, something else is coming up, and she's like throwing, Mom, what do I do? What do I do? And I have some really amazing teachers my kids have. I mean, I can't say enough,
Do you think that the teachers are explaining the homework or explaining what's going on in the classroom, and maybe the children are not paying attention? Could that be some of the problems occurring?
No, I mean, I'm sure there's kids that aren't going to pay. I mean, I was in school, I kind of like, did my thing, but I think they're so focused on the MCAS that's where they're aiming for, not, just the basic math, the basic reading, the basic writing. Like, they're not coming home with, learning how to write in cursive, and, they're just moving way, way too fast, and then I hear, well, everybody's an individual, and Susie over here can do it, but Jimmy over here can't. Well, you can't compare children. Every child is an individual. But you know what? Getting a basic education is not bad. I understand if someone, it may be advanced, well, then you can work with that child and give that child a little more. But the majority of the people, they're kind of on the same page, you know?
Now, what about the, as a school committee member, you would have a say in, you know, your vote on how you feel on particular issues. What about the spending of the in the school system? How would you deal with that and be able to balance the actual budget and stop depending on federal funding or state funding? You know,
I like to see more go into the school than into administration, if you want me to be honest with you. I'm not saying that they don't deserve it or nobody, you know, that no one should get a raise, but we're in a situation that I don't think enough goes to the children.
What about the teachers' unions bargaining agreement? We've seen what happened in Wisconsin, and today headline is that they voted to approve that particular bill that was brought forward to remove the bargaining. Should that be something that should happen here in Methuen as well, or in the Commonwealth at least, to protect taxpayers, protect the children, protect education?
I agree. Yeah, because like I said, I've been blessed. I've had some amazing teachers with my children, and but I've also seen some that are not. You know, there's good and bad in everything. You know, again, it comes down to the kids. I don't want to look at that almighty dollar of what that teacher is getting, because the kids aren't getting it, you know, and not the money, but the education that they need. And you see on TV that you know, these teachers walking out, and are you there for your paycheck, or are you there for your children? And I'm not seeing that. I'm not saying in Methuen, but just in general. I mean, look in Boston when they threw everybody out with the teachers, and then they were hemming and hawing, and that was crazy.
That's a mess over there in Lawrence, and it's going to continue to be a mess with the upcoming hearings, criminal charges that were filed with the superintendent, Dr. LeBoy, who had to disgracefully resign or been pulled out. But here in Methuen, as far as the education, the spending, books, which is another concern, how are we going to get more children involved as well in the education?
If I can get 2 more parents, and I could say it again, if I can get 2 more parents to run and they still, you know, they feel that same way, then you have 3 opposed to, not that I don't know or I don't talk to the members that are on now, but we're still forgetting about our kids and the education, and I stress it. Our curriculum is lousy. I'm going to be upfront. I hate the Methuen school curriculum. It is the worst I've ever seen. And they're not getting an education. And if anyone's going to turn around and tell me that they're getting an education out of the Methuen school system, I'd say you're wrong. You know, the MCAS scores speak for themselves, and it falls down on the subgroups. That's where they're throwing it. If the MCAS scores aren't up, well, we have subgroups.
If there was a vote today to eliminate MCAS, how would you vote?
I'd get rid of it.
You're totally against MCAS?
Yeah, I am.
Doesn't do anything.
I don't think
it
does anything. Like I tell my children, you know, do the best that you can. I'm not concerned of what that says. You know, and then we have the new grading system out there, and there's pros and cons to that. You know, I like it and I don't like it. I like that now it's almost like an individual IEP for the children, because now the teacher has to break down every aspect of your child, where all the struggles are. But then you have parents that want an A, B, C, D, or F. So you meet the requirements, you don't. So I think we need to find a happy medium there, where okay, we get the requirements, but what percent is my child at? Are they at a D? Are they at 65%? Or are they at 95%? So they need to tweak it. So the parents are also getting where they can work with their child, because I don't think that's enough. I don't think, well, your child meets the requirements. Nope, they don't. There you go, let's go on to the next grade. No, because you need to know where they're at. If you don't want to use the letters, that's fine, but at least give that room for your child's at an 85%, they're at a B. You need to know that, I think, as a parent, because you're not going to know where to work, you know? So that's where I'm at on that.
What about rating the actual parents? I know there've been talk around around the country about rating parents.
I think that's funny.
Should that be something that, or should we have a system where the parents can also rate their
Absolutely.
teachers?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you should rate. I mean, the parents. I think as a parent with 4 children, my 3 youngest are younger, and I'm a 24-year-old, but we're trying to survive. You're trying to put food on the table. You're trying to take care of your children. I don't feel what I feel in my opinion that they send a lot of work home because it's not being done in school because they're focused on the MCAS. So now we're having to teach our children what's not being taught in school. That I disagree with. I mean, forget the MCAS. Like I said, I don't care what that score says. And the MCAS was meant for no child being left behind. The MCAS was really to see if the teacher was doing their job. Not many people want to say it, but that's what the MCAS is for. Not whether or not the children they're doing well or not. It's really to see if the teachers are teaching the kids.
So with the results that have been out there, does the result indicate that the teachers are not doing their job? And not just here in Methuen, but across the Commonwealth?
Well, I think the teachers are put on a lot of stress because you're having 28 kids in a classroom with children that may or may not have ADHD or may have a learning disability. So I don't think that the teachers have enough help, to help these children. Or like my child, 2 of my kids, they struggle with reading, and one person, I'm sorry, I just don't think the teachers get enough. So I think they're under a lot of stress, and I think they need more help in the classroom, and there's no money.
Now you mentioned your kids attend the Marsh School.
Yeah.
Is that the school?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Now, in order to be elected for school committee, there would have to be other schools that you would have to be involved with.
Absolutely.
How do you plan on reaching out to those individual schools and the parents and get your message out?
Actually, I was planning on starting, once the weather breaks, the weather's just so lousy, attending PTO meetings. This way I can meet the parents and see what's going on in the other schools, and what their feelings. I know what's going on in our school, because I'm involved and I'm there, but the other schools I don't have any idea, so.
I just want to remind the viewers, you are watching Behind the Scenes. I am your host, Hector Montalvo. We are joined today in studio with school committee member Jerry Ann Patel. And Ms. Patel, let me just ask you, do you expect to raise a lot of money to be able to get to this position? Or do you have to raise a lot of money to get your message out there, to get your name recognition in order to get elected?
No, I won't do that because you know what? I'm not big on the almighty dollar. Granted, you need money to survive, but I'm not going to, go spend a ton of money just to get in office because I just went and spent $5,000. No, absolutely not. I'm just going to do the best that I can and get the word out. And my kids are in sports, and I talk to anyone and everyone I talk to, and then I know a lot of people that will also talk to them. But no, I don't believe in spending a lot of money because then you don't know if you're getting in because you just spent so much money or if people are actually listening to what you're talking about.
Exactly, and that's, there's controversy all over the place in regards to are people voting on name recognition? Are they voting on who you know, or
it's
how
definitely
much
name
money
recognition.
you have and so on? So with the school committee election coming up, do you see more candidates coming up? Do you see it's going to be a lot of people jumping in?
I
really haven't heard anything?
I haven't heard nothing. I'm just waiting, and actually talking to parents and kind of planting the seed and saying, hey, why don't you run? Because again, there's definitely 2 empty seats, and if another person moves off, you're running against an empty seat. So this way I kind of tell them, don't be so intimidated. I wasn't running really against any empty seats when I ran, but that was because I'm not intimidated, and I don't think anyone should be intimidated. We all get up the same way as everybody else, one pant leg at a time. So no one's better than the next person. So the way I look at it, go for it. Don't put your head in the sand. Just go for it.
And if you don't get involved within your government, then you basically lose all rights to complain because you're not really active in, stating what's going on in your government. And sometimes the best way to hold government accountable or to make government listen to the people is getting involved. So, I really would like to see more people get involved in either school committee, city council, just get involved. But I know we touched upon this a little while ago, but I'm a firm believer that people tend to not worry about what happens in their government until they hit their 40s, their 50s, and so on. What can you see could be done now at the early stage of a student maybe coming out of high school to where they know to be, be able to keep an eye on government, so to say?
I think that comes from home, because, I mean, I've been in politics my whole life with my mother, so I think it depends on, the school can only do so much. Again, they're trying to get these wonderful MCAS scores, so they're not going to tell them what's going on in the outside world. So I think that really kind of comes from home, because I'll watch little things with my kids, but it's a scary world out there. So I mean, as far as putting on the news and having my children see all the violence that's in this world, not that I'm trying to shelter them, but I do shelter them, and you have to. But as they get older, again, I have a 24-year-old. Mine is still young, so I'm not in that high school. I think with the high school age, I think that they should see what's going on. Like watch, I'm big on Fox News because they show both sides, so they need to see what's going on in the world. They have to, just so they're not out there and they're in college and you're saying, okay, who is this? And they're looking at you going, what? So they do. They need to see what's going on. But that comes, I think, from home.
I don't know if they're fair balance. I do watch Fox News myself, but mainly for Megan Ryan, who sits at the legal brief desk there. I just wanted to remind the viewers, if you have a question that you want us to ask your government or legal representation, send us an email at the Hector Montalvo Show at yahoo.com, or visit our website at behindthescenes.weebly.com, or visit us on Facebook as well. Ms. Patel, we have a few minutes left, and I just wanted to let you address the audience in regards to why should they consider you for a school committee member?
Geez, I don't know. There's so many qualities. I'm just kidding. I'm determined. I'm determined, and I will fight for every child, not just my child. Most of the time when I'm out there fighting, 99.9% of the time, it's for someone else's child, because parents, I'm more of their advocate, and they're intimidated to go out there, so I try to do the best I can. But I am determined to keep our kids safe, and I am very determined to get an education out of all the schools, not just the lower schools.
And if you're elected really quickly, how serious will you take the oath of office?
Oh, very serious.
Very good, and that's something you don't really see with the politicians
No,
today.
well, what you see is what you get with me. I think I've proven that.
Well, I want to thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
And talking to us about your bid for running for school committee. I want to thank the crew at MCTV, the staff at MCTV, and thank you at home for watching. Join us next time as we go behind the scenes to ask the tough questions, bring you their responses. We let you decide. Thank you for watching.